All right, guys. For the first speech we're going to give in class is going to be to introduce a classmate. And there's a lot of just kind of basic things that we're going to use to learn and go over with this speech. First thing is when you're giving a speech, it really is similar to writing an essay where you have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And you need to give each of these equal weight and importance when you're planning it so that you know where you're going to go with your main ideas as you get on through your speech. So the first step in your speech is the introduction. Um, and just like with an essay, the introduction is there to get your audience's attention and to make them interested in what you're going to talk about, or in this case, who you're going to be introducing to them. With speeches, just like that introductory paragraph, you want to get your audience's attention first. So we start with an attention getter. So you can do this the same ways that you would do in writing. You can do this by posing a question. You could tell a story, or what we call an anecdote, make a startling statement, or open with a quote from a famous person that relates to your topic that makes the audience want to hear more. The second big job of your introduction is to introduce the main points of your speech. And think of this as your body paragraphs, but also what are the main chunks, what are the main ideas that are going to be in your essay. So as you do research papers, as you do informative essays, you might have big paragraphs, but you also have sections of your paper that focus on different aspects. Same idea with your essay. So once you have your audience's attention and they know who or what you're going to talk about, then you are ready for the body of your essay, or the main section. Now, the main method of organization in a speech like this is to use chronological order, to follow a time pattern, begin at the beginning, middle, and end. Limit the number of main points. You don't want to have too much in there. Your person you're introducing might have a lot of really important things that have happened to them. Try to pick out the major points, the main things that need to be discussed. And we're going to refer to these as the main points in your speech. And then finally, you have your conclusion. And in your conclusion, the same as your introduction, it has two essential tasks that it needs to accomplish. So for the end, you need to let the audience know that you're about to finish. So signal with a transition word or a clue word that you are reaching the end of your speech, and then reinforce the central idea. Why was this topic important? What was essential for us to remember about what you just got done telling us? Those are the main body parts, those are the main sections of the speech, but the thing that probably has you more nervous is actually delivering the speech. Now, I do not want us to write this out word for word, so we are not going to come up to the front of the room and grab a piece of paper, put our head straight down, and start to read. That is not effective speech giving. And I know that you probably don't see this, but if you watch the news or you see politicians speak, they absolutely have it all written out for them. They have speech writers that get paid lots and lots of money just to write speeches. But they also have an advantage that we don't have, which is a teleprompter, which is what those clear screens that are in front of their podium are. They look like, I don't know, sometimes when I was young, I thought that that was like bulletproof glass in front of them. That's not bulletproof glass. That is the prompter. So they can look right straight out in front of them and be reading, and we don't see that. We don't have that benefit. So we're not going to be able to read word for word. We also don't want to prepare too little, though. So you do want to have something written down so that you know what you're going to talk about, but you're not going to read it. Kind of like what I'm doing with this PowerPoint. I have key points that I want to make sure that we discuss and I explain to you, but I don't have every single thing that I'm saying written down. If I was going to do that, then we'll just let you read the PowerPoint. Delivering your speech. You need to know what you are going to talk about. That's what that pre-preparation for. But you also want to be able to kind of go off of your notes. You don't want to be dedicated to your notes. So you need to know what you're talking about really well. You need to be prepared so you know what you want to talk about, that you don't have to look down at your cards constantly. And you need to have your notes, just again, keywords and phrases rather than complete sentences and paragraphs, so that I can glance down and see 4-H and I go, oh yes, Susan really enjoys sewing as part of her participation in 4-H. Or I can look down and see soccer and I can go, oh yes, Paul is the starting goalkeeper for VHS soccer team. Once you know your topic really well, the next step is to rehearse the speech. And we are going to rehearse in class. So kind of look at your neighbors and get friendly with them, because they're the ones that are going to be giving you a lot of feedback before you get up to actually do your speech in class and present in front of everyone. So as you are rehearsing, your focus of rehearsing is that you are getting control of what you want to talk about so that you will stay on topic. So every time that you give this speech, because you are not writing it down word for word, it will be a little bit different. But what will happen is that as you repeat yourself, you will focus down more on the essential information. And that way you don't get off onto a tangent and go off course and start talking about things that aren't really important. It's also important that you need to rehearse it out loud. It's not enough to just read through it and go through it in your head. We do that I do that a lot in my head. I kind of go through things, but it never is exactly the same as when you actually stop and say it out loud. So saying it in your head, looking at your notes, that's not enough. Part of that rehearse then is to get constructive feedback. What did you think went well? What did you think went poorly? What could I do to improve and make it better? Also, rehearsing your timings is important. It's very common for us to think that we're speaking for a really long time because you get nervous and that adrenaline starts pumping and it slows things down. When in reality, time is actually moving just the same as it always does. And to your audience, it seems like you're going really quickly. And to you, it seems like you're never going to be out of the spotlight. So for this speech, we've got a maximum of a 3-minute timeline. So you want to get as close to that as you can and watch for the lights in the back of the room. When you get to that 2:30 mark, I'll flash them so you know where you are at. Now, actually starting the speech is the hard part. When it's your turn to speak, you are going to move to the front of the room and face the audience. And this is where the nerves start to set in. You need to stand up straight, not leaning on the board, not leaning on the podium, standing up straight, shoulders back, and just kind of like choir, excuse my daughter, just kind of like in choir, when they say keep your shoulders back and your diaphragm up, it helps you speak louder so your audience can hear you, and it helps you project your voice. Okay, so stand up straight, shoulders back, don't lean, and project your voice. You want to make sure the people in the back of the room can hear you. All right, now you want to have your notes out in front of you in the order and take a minute and just kind of look at the audience and smile. And you're doing that because you want them on your side. So start off on a positive note, which is always to start with a good smile. When you actually start your speech, the toughest thing is your hands. We all tend to have this little Ricky Bobby moment where we don't know what to do with our hands. You do want to use your hands to make some gestures as you speak. You don't want to grip that podium as tightly as you can. You don't want to put your hands in your pockets. And girls, we don't want to be playing with your hair. It's a good idea to even put your hair up and out of your face so that you don't get tempted to put your hands up into it. Other than that, you do want to use your hands a little bit. You don't have to use your hands extensively. It can kind of become a little distracting if you start using your hands too much. But you should use them naturally as you would in your kind of normal conversation, because this is what you're doing. You're having a conversation, but you're having a conversation with the audience. So use your hands in the same way that you would if you would in your normal everyday conversations. Eye contact. This is another tough one. It's okay to kind of look over people's heads. Sometimes you want to look out, find a couple classmates that you can make eye contact a little bit. But if you're just really nervous, don't start by not looking directly in their eye. It's okay to kind of look near them. Look just to the side of them or just above their heads, but don't look straight down. Don't
That's part of why having those note cards rather than your speech written out is helpful, so that you're not tempted to just look straight at your cards or straight at your speech. Look up, look out, keep your chin up. Again, letting your voice project. Okay. Speaking of voice, you do want to express your words the same you would in a normal conversation. So your voice, when you talk, will naturally raise and it will lower. Fight the urge to race through your speech and make a conscious effort to slow down. Take a deep breath and pause. Don't feel like you have to fill in all the blank spaces. If you run out of things to say, just pause. Don't instantly go for that or that or that kind of thing. Just, it's okay. Like I said before, it will seem like time is moving very quickly, but it's not. It's your nerves. So what seems like a really big long pause to you really does not seem that long to your audience. All right, so in conclusion, those are the big things that we need to think about for your speech, for your introduction speech. You need the beginning, a middle, and an end. You're going to rehearse this, you're going to practice this, but you're not going to write this out word for word. So we're going to use those notes outlined to get your main ideas. Then we will rehearse with your classmates so you can narrow down what specific information you want to include and then actually give the speech. And as we give this first speech, it really is just kind of an icebreaker to get your first time in front of the class. We want to focus on the main important parts of the posture, using your hands, making eye contact, and projecting your voice. If you have any questions, certainly ask. Good luck.